Yeah, I love it when they cast hot chicks in these games. Oh yeah, let me see that ass. Oh, damn it, Anita Sarkeesian! Ah! What's this dumb bitch gonna be complaining about this time? The controllers are sexist because they're too phallic? Or maybe it's because they rumble and the men put it on their penis. Oh, of course, it's body language. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Movement can be a powerful thing.
You mean like how when I see your face, I just want to make a bowel movement? Because I don't think there's anything more moving than that.
Most of us who play games can appreciate the importance of a well-timed jump in a platformer or a skillful dodge in a fighting game.
Look, Anita, if you don't get to the fucking point, I'm gonna go start playing a platform game of my own in my fucking toilet because of all the fucking shit you're putting me through. Get to the point.
But sometimes it's the seemingly ordinary movements that actually tell us the most about a character.
You know, I'm commenting as I'm watching this for the first time, but let me guess, what she's gonna say is how men stare at women's boobs and butts.
The way they do simple things like walk or sit down. And like anything else about a character, movement can be used in ways that resist higher gender stereotypes or in ways that reinforce them.
Alright, she didn't directly say it, but hey, that was my first time watching it. What's this face she's making? It looks like she's about to be the one who's gonna take a shit. And they say ladies never fart. My last video, I did suspect something.
In Bungie's hugely successful online shooter Destiny, players start by creating their own character, a guardian who will fight to protect the last remnants of humanity.
Let me guess, you want to protect everyone by shitting on everything everyone likes. Oh wait, no, that's just real life.
As with character creation tools in other games, this one lets you choose from different genders and races.
Oh, how progressive of them.
In most ways, Destiny treats its playable female characters almost identically to how it treats its male characters. For instance, the armor you acquire when playing as a female character isn't sexualized, but looks just as practical and stylish as the gear equipped by male characters.
Wait a minute, Anita, I thought you said everything was racist, everything was sexist, and everything was homophobic. Now you're telling me this one isn't, this one's actually good? Ugh. Where's that Anita I used to know?
Everything is sexist.
How cups with straws are sexist. It reconfirms the idea that they can place their straw into anything they desire.
Everything is racist. There's a good year of my life where it was just I was the most obnoxious person to be around. Everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out to everyone all of the time. However, there is one way in which the male and female characters are differentiated by gender.
She's back to her old crazy self again.
And it has to do with their movement. Watch how a male guardian sits down, taking a load off after a long, hard day.
Took a load off? God, Anita, why do you always have to talk about shit?
Fighting the forces of pure evil. It's simple. It suggests confidence.
I was just joking before, but I guess she really is talking about shit.
When a female character sits down, however, it's a completely different story. She sits like a delicate flower.
And you rather sit like a guy? Really? Really?
This is supposed to be a hardened space warrior, and yet she's sitting around like she's Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, and if she's spreading her legs like the guy is, then you'd be complaining about her being objectified. Which is it? Can you just fucking make up your mind? What the fuck do you want us to do for women in video games? Because it seems like it's very inconsistent in what you're saying.
A character's animation and movement is just as much a part of who they are as their appearance and their clothing.
Yeah, and?
And like any other aspect of a character, game designers use movement to communicate information about them to the player.
Well, no shit.
This isn't inherently a bad thing. Expressive character animations are just a way for the game to contribute to our understanding of who a character is and what defines them.
According to you, if they're a man, they're a pig. If they're a woman, they're just being objectified by a man. So, yeah, that's what it conveys to you.
How a character walks, jumps, even how they sit down can tell us a lot about them. For instance, Ryu Hayabusa's precise and graceful movement conveys that he is a highly trained ninja. While the way Nathan Drake scrambles and fumbles in dangerous situations is meant to suggest that he's more of a relatable, ordinary guy who just keeps finding himself in extraordinary circumstances.
Hundreds of thousands of feminist research hard at work.
By contrast, the way that women move in games isn't just used to suggest their confidence or their skill or some other facet of their personality. It's very often used in conjunction with other aspects of their design to make them exude sexuality for the entertainment of the presumed straight male player.
Those bastards catering to their demographics. How dare they?
What the hell?
Catwoman from the Arkham series has a deeply exaggerated hip sway when she walks. In combination with her clothing and the game's camera angles, all of this is meant to drive the player's focus to her highly sexualized butt.
Anita, can you please just stop repeating yourself? At least, come up with different examples?
In Batman Arkham City, for instance, the player's gaze is drawn to Catwoman's behind, which is emphasized by her costume and exaggerated hip sway. In Resident Evil Revelations, Jill Valentine somehow manages to wiggle her whole body while she runs.
Anita, you should see me run. There's a lot of jiggling and just stuff going all over the place, and it's not exactly by choice.
In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Evie Frye is a character who avoids falling into many of the sexualizing traps that some playable female characters do, but she still walks with an exaggerated hip sway.
She even has that stupid fucking strategic butt coverings that you made up, and you're still fucking having problems with her just because she walks with a sway to her hips?
In Saints Row the Third, you can change your character's gender at any time. If you go to the clinic and swap your gender from male to female, you also come away with a newly sexualized walking animation, even though you're literally supposed to be the same character.
Why would a character be acting more feminine when he has a sex change to a woman? This is a fucking mystery.
Male heroes are allowed to simply walk like normal human beings in ways that are average or strong or graceful or goofy.
Average, strong, graceful, or silly? You pretty much covered every type of walk there. And yeah, women have all those walks in games too. Maybe not the clips you've selectively chosen, but they are there.
Meanwhile, motion-captured animations for female characters often make them look as if they're walking down a runway at a fashion show in stiletto heels, even when the characters are actually in combat situations.
What, you mean to tell me that video games aren't a realistic portrayal of the world? All those years I spent practicing killing zombies, all for nothing. Nothing.
Watching these characters' in-game movement animations, you'd think that the director of the motion capture session directed them to walk like a model instead of a hardened space war, or master thief, or bioterrorism agent, or crime boss, or vampire, or assassin.
How dare that director make the product more appealing to men? That son of a bitch.
Of course, in the real world, people do walk with a sway of the hips when wearing high heels.
So they do walk like that, you fucking hypocrite.
If we want to get really technical about it, this slight hip sway occurs in order to maintain balance.
Oh, so I guess if a character wore high heels, that would be a perfectly logical reason for her to swing her hips, huh? But no, Catwoman swings her hips because it's sexist.
This in and of itself is not a problem, other than generally being deeply uncomfortable. But it raises an important question. Why are these female characters in combat roles wearing high heels?
I think the question is, why would women ever wear high heels? I mean, that's just fucking ridiculous.
With all the fighting, running, and climbing these women have to do, dressing them in heels is clearly a decision rooted in sexualized aesthetic pleasure rather than believability.
You know, just the other day I was playing Superman the game and I was thinking how realistic this is.
In fact, animating so many female characters in games to fit into this very gendered, sexualizing walk pattern is an example of one of the ways the male gaze manifests in video games.
It's almost as if these men are attracted to women. This is fucking crazy.
The term male gaze was coined in 1975 by feminist film critic Laura Mulvey and refers to the tendency for the visual arts to assume and be structured around a presumed masculine viewer.
A feminist realized that movie companies were catering to the largest demographic. You know, she's a quick one. I mean, Einstein is smart, but he really doesn't have anything on this chick. This woman, sorry.
The male gaze manifests when the camera takes on a perspective of a stereotypical heterosexual man. An indisputable example of this is when the camera lingers, caresses, or pans across a woman's body, although it's not always that obvious.
I hate to have to keep saying this, but yeah, they're catering to the demographic that purchases their products. I said this in the last video, I said it several times in this video, but that is the pure incentive. It's not a hatred towards women.
In games, it can be as simple as the in-game camera resting so that a character's butt or breasts or both are center-line.
In your last video, you deliberately misled people as to what camera angles can be done in the game. I'm not doubting that women's butts are prominently displayed, but so what? I know you said it's wrong because his characters can't consent, but guess what? None of the characters consent to being killed either. But it's a work of fiction, so get over it.
It can be a cutscene that rests on a woman's butt. It can be clothing that they are wearing, or the way they talk, or it can be as basic as the way a female character moves around the game world. The male gaze reinforces the notion that man looks and the woman is looked at.
Men are visual creatures, women aren't. It's as simple as that.
To be clear, the male gaze...
Alright, well, for the next minute, she says the exact same thing. Men like to look at women. Men like to look at women. Men like to look at women. Yeah, we've established that, so let's see what else she has to say.
The male gaze is also not in any way limited to men or heterosexual people. Almost all of us internalize and sometimes identify with the male gaze to some extent.
I fucking knew it. She is so a carpet licker.
Eradicating the male gaze is not as simple as introducing an inverse female gaze that sexualizes men either. Not just because equal opportunity sexual objectification isn't the answer, but also because it isn't actually equal.
Doing the same thing to both genders is not equal. I wonder what fucking mental gymnastics she's gonna pull with this shit.
One reinforces pre-existing oppressive ideas about women that are real and damaging to women in their everyday lives. The other doesn't reinforce anything.
Oppressive ideas, huh? It's oppressive to appreciate the beauty in the opposite sex. It's a video game. You're not going to sit down with her and listen to the story by the time she got gum in her hair when she was in 2nd grade. Men like women, both aesthetically and mentally. Well, unless they're a psycho-feminist like you, then they're like, ugh. But yeah.
Nor are the two interchangeable. For example, when the satirical website The Hawkeye Initiative reimagines male characters in sexualized poses that are common for female characters, it isn't using the female gaze. This is just the male gaze applied to men.
Let me explain basic biology for you. The female of the species typically displays her desirability by presenting herself, which is why it's comical when men pose like women. I know in your mind, gender roles bad. But the fact is, as a collective, women have certain tendencies and men have their tendencies. You seem to love generalizing men and the gays and all this other shit, but say anything that applies to most women and you're all up in arms yelling at us. So yeah, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. We can't say anything because you're always right. You're not.
When male characters are depicted as shirtless or wearing little clothing, like the character sometimes dubbed Hot Ryu from Street Fighter V,
You just call him Hot Ryu. That's just very sexist against men, you know. That's the same shit you do to us men. You say we're sexist for stupid little shit like that. You find him attractive. Great. I don't fucking care. Enjoy it.
their lack of clothing demonstrates their power and strength, rather than depicting them as erotic playthings or reducing them to sexualized body parts.
And also this big strong guy is always seen as being dumb and the little one is seen as being fast. These are just stupid little things that they have characters play. What do you want me to say? It's not just against women. There are a lot of other things that apply to men too. So it doesn't fucking... Why am I even listening to you anymore?
The same is true when it comes to movement. Male characters get to move in ways that emphasize all sorts of characteristics and personality traits, but there's a whole world of untapped potential for representations of female characters who aren't animated in ways that frame them as sex objects, but who get to be just as stealthy or strong, swift or imposing, clumsy or graceful.
Why don't you just make a video game with the $500,000 you collected for this stupid video series? You know, you could have made one game that would have been the ideal game for all women to play. But no, you just wanted to make these stupid bullshit videos. Awesome.
The way Ellie moves in The Last of Us communicates a sense of tension and danger, demonstrating what it's like when female characters are animated in ways that emphasize their personality and emotional state, rather than serving to sexually objectify them.
I don't know if you can see this, but her ass is clearly right in the middle of the frame, and that's a big no-no in your book, isn't it? Can you always be, consistent in what you say? Because this is just getting ridiculous. Getting ridiculous. It's been ridiculous.
The path to equality and liberation does not lie in equally reducing men and women to objectified parts, but by treating people of all genders and with all types of bodies as full and complete human beings.
Or treating all of them like fictional characters that aren't real and can be played with in however you see fit. Just like I can punch a person in a video game, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get assault charges. Although if you were the one making the decisions, you probably would. This is the Booze and Bullshit Show. Shit happens and we make fun of it. If you're new to this channel and like my content, well, there is a subscribe button for people like you. If you hated it, well, then I'd be surprised if you're still watching at this point. But since you are, why not check out some of my other videos? If you hate BuzzFeed, see my video, White Person Responds to 24 Questions from Black People. Also, my video, Is PC Culture Taking Away Your Freedom of Speech? Of course it is. And if you feel Anita Sarkeesian is just as ridiculous as I do, then you'll like my reply to her video, Strategic Butt Coverings.